How's everybody doing? Hopefully, you're all enjoying the weekend so far. We're back with another Q&A video, so let's get it started. When it comes to mobsters and their legitimate jobs, is it more common for them to be employed somewhere or to be running their own business? And was it as common for members and associates to have real jobs back in the golden era of the mob? Look, if a guy owned a business, obviously he didn't have any need to work elsewhere. Many years ago, it wasn't as common to see street guys working legitimate jobs, but it became more and more critical during my time to have a job. In some ways, it kept you under the FBI's radar. Not completely off it, but you weren't the focus of their attention. And I've mentioned this, most of the guys during my time did in fact work legitimate jobs. So I've always found it funny and typical when certain clowns mock this. Anyone with inside knowledge would know that guys went to work every day. I'll answer this repeated question as simple as can be. How often would being in that life interfere with your legitimate job? All the time. Okay, moving along. I just recently learned about the story of Thomas and Rosemary Uva, the young couple who apparently robbed a few social clubs before the Gambinos finally caught up with them. I don't know if that happened in your time, but did you ever know of any members who had first-hand encounters with those robberies? That foolish couple began robbing the social clubs mid to late 1992. At that time, I was in prison. They were ultimately killed on December 24th, 1992. It's typical nature that guys don't speak about situations that involve a hit, and they shouldn't. So even if I dealt with people who may have been present in one of those social clubs while it was being stuck up, they weren't talking about that subject. Do you know if the Mafia made money off of Hurricane Sandy in any way? Of course they did. Guys had home repair and debris removal companies, etc., as well as companies that were involved in public adjusting and claim management. Did you run into any members or associates selling fake driver's licenses? I personally never ran into or even heard of anyone selling anything like that. Did you know a Louis Duque DeMatti with the New Jersey crew? If so, do you know if he was a Lucchese member? Apparently he was associated to the Jersey crew. I never met him, or more importantly, knew him to be a member. Can a member who's put on the shelf get picked up by another crew of a different family? I've explained this many times in the past. When someone is inducted into a family, he remains with that family. And if put on the shelf, another family cannot place them in their family, even as an associate. Why in one of the Q&A videos did you say that the Bonannos were more like a street gang in comparison to the Gambino and the Genovese families? I said this because the Bonannos were acting on Cosa Nostra-like and more like a street gang with no discipline. And I'm not the only person who had that opinion. A crime family shouldn't want other families having a bad opinion of them. And the Bonannos have a history of being on the shit list. How does the commission determine how many cruiser captains are in a family and how many crews are in each of the 5 families in the 1980s versus today? Well, first and foremost, the commission does not dictate how many crews or captains a family could have. During my time, we were warned never to discuss how many captains we had in our family. And likewise, we didn't know the exact number of crews or captains in other families. Did you ever meet Anthony Croce when you were in the life? I know the name well, and I believe I met Croce at one of the wakes. You mentioned having known or met people in the life that spoke Italian. Were you aware of anyone that spoke other languages? Yes, some of the guys did speak Italian, but to be honest, you're lucky these guys know how to speak English, let alone another language. If the FBI gets wind of a member being put on the shelf, do you think they would approach the former member in hopes of getting them to provide information on the family's illegal activities in hopes that the former member might hold a grudge against their former family? I would say the probability of agents trying to approach a shelved member is high indeed. They definitely perk up when they learn of a certain member or associate holding a grudge. Like for instance, and from what I've been told, another informant had let the agents know that Robert Spinelli was extremely upset with Matty Madonna. And when they approached Spinelli, he volunteered to wear a wire, which he ultimately did. So yes, agents look for cracks, and they use this to their advantage. News that a member has been shelved is something they would definitely look into. When you would go to Rayo's, did you have any favorite dishes? And do you have any funny memories at the restaurant? Anyone who's been to Rayo's can attest to this. Everything on the menu is good. The only funny memory I have is one night Nicky the Vest took our drink order, and I had just complimented him on his ability to remember who ordered what. And then the drinks came, and he screwed up everyone's order. I wound up with Mikey DeSantis' drink. Why do all the families still have their headquarters or centers of operation in New York? I know they have some rackets going on all over the country, and they know that the feds are heavily trained on New York. So why not spread out a bit like in Maine, Ohio, or Arizona? The short answer is New York families are based in New York, and the majority of these people also live in New York. So operating outside of New York would definitely be an inconvenience. Did you ever have any dealings with the Irish or Albanian mob? None whatsoever. Have you ever dealt with or met the Gambinos involved in the trucking industry who were convicted in 2009, like Anthony Licata, Joe Spanata, Mario Casarino, or Gino Cracalissi? The only guys you've mentioned that I met was Licata and Casarino. If you haven't liked this video yet, please take the time now and give it a like, as it helps with YouTube's algorithm. Anyone who'd like to show their appreciation for videos like this, or more importantly, help me to continue making them, you can donate with the Super Thanks icon down below or through the PayPal Cash App links in the video's description. Let me quickly mention my blog, also called Sit Down News, especially for those of you who still enjoy reading. The site can be found at sitdownnews.com and is a paid subscription. And for the final question, did you go into that life thinking it was a brotherhood only to find out about the treachery after the fact? Or did you join knowing how treacherous that the life could be? Let me start out by correcting something that you said. One does not join the mob. You are proposed and either accept or you don't. Prior to my induction, I was well aware that mob life was full of treachery. If you know the history, it's impossible not to know. I've spoken about this before. Yes, I was aware of how treachery could come into play in that life. However, I was entering as a loyal rule follower because at that time, I believed in the brotherhood and that life. Any of the people that I've dealt with in that life can never say I was not a loyal guy. But for me, loyalty given must always be returned. So I'll put it in simple terms. Don't ever burn me with a match for no reason whatsoever. And when I burn you back, cry foul.